Hi, this is Marcia, and today I'm going to be talking about how you can transform your classroom into a Phase 2 blended learning environment in 4 easy sprints. What's a sprint? Funny you should ask. A sprint is an interval of time where you are going to be working and training the students, working on transforming your lessons, and working on how to take what you traditionally do and blend it into an environment where students are more engaged, working at their own pace, place, and path. All right, in this first video, we're going to be talking about the very first sprint. So let's get started. The 4 sprints to Phase 2, how to transform a traditional classroom to Phase 2 in 60 days. So when we're talking about these sprints, we're talking about those intervals of time. So when you're thinking about this, you could do it in 1 week, 2 weeks, or 3 weeks of interval of time, depending on how ready you are to move and how ready your students are. So in each sprint, I'm going to focus in on 3 areas to keep motivating you to keep working. So first sprint, we're going to talk about your classroom setup, changing your lesson, and how to use your timer. In the second sprint, we're going to talk about what happens when students finish early, what happens when they finish, don't get it done. And then we're going to talk about how to use digital content, and of course, the evolution of future ready skills. In the third sprint, we're going to talk about getting voice from the students, allowing them to talk about what they like or what they don't like, using your assessments, and then finally starting to think about how you can put together a checklist for those different activities for the students. And then your third sprint, we're taking away the timer. What? I know, crazy, but we're going to put the timer back in the hands of the students. We're not going to be moving everybody. We're going to be also talking about how you can create a choice board, and then finally using that checklist to really drive your classroom instruction. Here we go, the first sprint. I believe in this quote, if you change your space, you change your mindset. We really want to change your space first of all. So let's talk about a couple of things that you can do in order to prepare your classroom. So in the first sprint, before you get started, think about changing up your classroom environment. So here's an example of a classroom that changed up their space. They had a location for the mini lesson. They had a location for their independent and their digital content. So their digital content studio is back here. I call them studios versus station, rotation, just because I want to just give it a little bit of a different name. So I call them studios. So the digital studio is going on here, and then also the independent studio, and then finally the future ready skills studio where they're collaborating and working together. So when we're transforming the classroom, we want to think about the materials that we have. Even things you might find around your house like 5-gallon buckets, put a lid on top. Find some bar stools. These are IKEA bar stools that cost $5. Here are some of my favorite. I love the milk crates for storage and for seating. These fuzz buds are the new bouncy balls for the classroom. They're easy, they're fun, and give that textural feeling to the students while they're balancing in your classroom. Bed risers. A lot of my classrooms want to have stand-up tables, so they implement the bed risers to help them, as well as the 5-gallon buckets, the beanbag chairs, and of course I mentioned the IKEA bar stools. These easy things that you can find at garage sales or around your house can start to transform and give some flexible seatings for the students. All right, what do we do next? We prepare the students. So what we're going to do is we're going to take the classroom and what we would normally teach as a whole group, now we're going to break it into 2 rotations, 2 learning studios. So half of the group is going to be working with me in a mini lesson, half of the group is going to be working in independent studio. Halfway through the class, we switch. Now, let's go to day 2. Day 2, half the class is going to be working with me in a mini lesson, half the class is going to be working on digital content. Halfway through the class, we switch. Now let's talk about day 3. Half the class is in a mini lesson, half the class is in future ready skills. Halfway through, we switch. Why do you think I always implement a mini lesson? I know. The reason being is we're training the students on how to figure things out. If I just walk around the room and I'm monitoring my students, then they're going to rely on me. So by always showing them what it looks like when I'm in a mini lesson, they have to figure it out. That doesn't mean I stay in the mini lesson the whole time. It means I might give my students a project or problem, they get started on it, and then I walk around the room, answer any questions, and then I come back to my mini lesson. Remember, this is our training phase, so we don't want to take the training wheels off too quick. We got to train them, but students have to understand, when I'm in a mini lesson, my focus is with those students. All right? All right, so now we're ready to deploy. We changed our space, we prepared the students, now let's do a phase 1 lesson plan. A phase 1 lesson plan. Take what you normally do, what you're planning on doing next week, and break it up into 4 key areas. What is your mini lesson? What's your independent practice, your digital content, and your future ready skill? You probably do homework, so that becomes your independent practice. Digital content, a video, your video. Maybe they're doing some adaptive practice, something where they're learning or it's a hands-on activity in that digital content. Future ready skills, they're creating, collaborating, communicating. We really want those students working together. That's it. If you would like me to make a phase 1 lesson plan, send me an email. I am more than willing to show you what you could do. Just give me a topic. I'll come up with a brief idea on how you could lay out your phase 1 lesson plan. All right, then the students rotate. When you're ready to do that, 1 day a week, you're going to rotate the students from those 4 areas. Every 10 minutes, which goes to our next thing, set your timer. Every 10 minutes, the students rotate from one activity to the next. Here are some of my favorite timers. Just your simple digital timers, sand timers, your smartboard timer, your iPhone watch, your Apple Watch timer, anything that's going to allow you to signal to tell the students to move. This is what it would look like your second week. So 1 week, I'm going to do it 1 day a week. The second week, I'm going to talk to my students again, prepare them, talk to them about what's going to happen, and then I do that same phase 1 lesson plan again the following Wednesday. And then the third week of the first sprint, same thing. Prepare my students, and then I deploy it. Here's a quick little tip. My teachers, when they're implementing phase 1, start with a review day. It seems to help. That review day gives them just that little understanding that the kids should have some background knowledge before they take off. That's it. That's your first sprint. Change your space. Prepare the students for what it's going to look like. Deploy a phase 1 using your timer. Try that for 3 weeks. All right, once you're ready, watch the video on sprint number 2. All right, guys, thanks. Let me know if you have any questions.